Westmore. So we've got exactly the same match that we just commented on just now. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this one goes. Just having a friendly banter between them. It's nice to see.
Absolutely.
UK isn't allowed any spice. This stream has already been cursed. Don't worry about that. They invited me on after all. Can't be that bad.
So once again, we're looking at that situation of, for equipment versus less equipment.
Oh, yes.
We saw all 4 of those equipment doing so much work for Ben in the last game as well, protecting a massive spectral shield, helping make that spectral shield even bigger. And now it's just a matter of, does Jacob have the right equipment to counteract some of that? A rousing wave, really good at punching through the ward. We know Ben has a lot of ward on that equipment as well, might negate a portion of that, but it might also be just enough to punch that one over that you need to destroy that big spectral manifestation 3 counter spectral shield.
Absolutely. What we've seen as well is over the course of the 2 Enigma games, it's that spectral shield that gets established that you can just continuously swing over and over again, especially with the astral etchings as well that came in at that moment where it just buffed it to a ridiculous amount. That is a very, very key card to sort of protect when you get that out on field there, that spectral shield, because you can just continuously swing it for free with Enigma's ability. But there's a couple of ways you can play Enigma, right? You can set up and try and protect what you've got, or you can just swing these blues, which we saw Ben do in the last game.
Definitely. And I think if every Enigma player had their choice, it would be, I make a ward with some type of counter on it, I swing it to attack, and then I follow up with some other attack, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Either you start with a droplet with Go Again, and then you play a Haze Shelter. Yeah, path well traveled, give it that Go Again, and then you play a Haze Shelter, and then you swing with it, and you're really happy, or you start with a Waxing Spectre, and then you drop something massive like a Battlefront Bastion. But those are big luxury, hands that require specific interactions that require these 3-4 cards.
Yeah.
But we've started the game, so Ben took his first turn to play out that blue Waning Vengeance. Not quite as good of a start as he had last game, but better than what he had game 1. And the response from Jacob is to send a yellow Water the Seeds in for 2 with Go Again. And pitching a blue Water the Seeds. So it's one of those questions of, are these the first call picks? Is this your ideal hand, or are you getting some of those less ideal ones out of the way to make sure you have that really nice, clean stealth attack into premium reaction on the follow-up when you have ward that you really want to kill? Because, blue Waning Vengeance is, it's fine. It might attack you for 1, but if Ben's paying 1 to attack, I think you're probably reasonably happy about it. But that Water the Seeds going through, and it's buffed up this Beckoning Mistblade now.
Yeah, so coming for him for 2 with Go Again. If it hits, the next attack gets +1 and Go Again. The next blue attack. That's not going to be a blue attack. It's going to be a Desires of Flesh coming in for 3. This cares about the attack actions being banished.
Yeah. So
top card of a deck, yeah.
We can either banish based on the cards that blocked because of news, the first part of news hero text, the less exciting bit. You can't steal cards from your opponents with that bit, but it does say that your attacks with stealth banish action cards that defend against them at the end of the chain link.
That's right.
So Ben is very much enjoying his current hand. Oh, banishing a path well traveled.
Okay.
So
that means Nu can play that if she gets round to it, right?
Yes, but then Ben gets the chi back.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Once it transcends, yes. Because there's a strange wording on the card. We don't want you to pitch a card of your opponent's down into your own deck. It's very, very interesting. Very interesting. So Ben, I was just about to say at the beginning of this, I don't think we've seen very many Majestic Bombs be played out in interesting ways so far in this game. But here comes Levels of Enlightenment, one of the best all-rounder cards in this set, absolutely.
We know what modes he's chosen on this? Go again?
So presumably he's going to be choosing those modes now. So he played it, targeted it with Droplet, so it'll be coming in for -1, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm assuming +2 Go Again. Maybe draw a card Go Again, depending on how much he wants, or depending on if he has a plan for everything in his hand, or if maybe he wants to fish for an arsenal. So it looks like we're drawing the card here. So we're 2 Go Again. We've also made that Spectral Shield. And and it'll be very interesting to see how this turn shakes out.
Just drew into a Cosmic Awakening by the looks of it in hand there.
Which
front card
would be a great thing to pitch on this turn.
Here we go. 2 of Go Again on the Spectral Shield for free because of Enigma's ability. With the Arousing Wave, just taking 1.
Yeah, getting that block value out quite early, just to make sure that, in case you need it to really pump up that 1, you want it on tap, and you don't want to lose that block value in the future as well.
Yeah.
Although, interesting development on drop, because it requires you to target an attack.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Levels of Enlightenment is a valid target before you choose the modes, or if you have to choose the modes first. So there may have been some confusion around there, but we did see it with Go Again and draw a card. So perhaps we need.
Well, this is one of these things, right? The players haven't noticed it. They're playing on. This is just what happens sometimes. Things get missed. And, before people say, oh, UK is cursed again, these things happen in these sorts of events, and the players haven't noticed it themselves.
Yeah.
So there's no need to sort of point it out. It's just what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's certainly, I'd imagine, very much an honest mistake, because every single other Transcend card in the game, or every other Transcend card, play Levels of Enlightenment, play Transcend card, Transcend, pitch that, pick the 2 modes. It becomes that kind of default pattern of play.
Yeah, exactly.
But that turn is resolved, we're set, and we're once again throwing those Beckoning Mistblades, trying to poke away at those free weapons in the form of Spectral Shields from Enigma here.
It's just what comes after the Beckoning Mistblade, isn't it? That's what Jacob has to contend with, is what can I push through after this?
Definitely. So, Beckoning Mistblade, I think it's a good way, if you have those cards, to start picking through some of the equipment that Ben has. Because even if you don't know what equipment Ben has, you know that if it's cloaked, it has the capacity to defend very well.
Mm-hmm. Just drawing out the legs there. But now coming in with a second one.
And again, is it worth the second? Sure. Is it worth the second piece of equipment here, or is it necessarily?
Let me see. He's got an Emissary in his hand after this, so he could be. You need an extra card for that, though, don't you? No, you can still throw it for 0, can't you? Yeah.
It's just if you want to give it Go Again, or assuming it's Emissary of Wind.
I think so.
But yes. Which it looks to be.
Just trying to see if he's got anything in hand which is making the decision of protecting the shield worth doing, or this is a long and hard decision. Yep, it's gone. It is gone.
Which is interesting on the path here. So Jacob definitely kept a lot of information in reserve there. Mm-hmm. The alternative line would have been actually swing 1 more damage by, instead of swinging that second Beckoning Mistblade, just play that fact-finding mission by pitching the Emissary. But I think being able to, that one go again, those little tricks add up to being able, keeping that information matters more than one attack sometimes. And here we see Ben, again, opting to play that Haze Shelter on defense. So 2 cards for 4 defensive value, covering it.
Yeah, because the blue is pitched. Obviously, they will come in all pitch values, those cards. But if they care about the blue, and the red is obviously warding 4. So clean, nice and blocked there.
And once again, using that floating resource to activate the Truth Retold, putting that Haze Shelter back to the bottom of the deck like we saw him do in Game 1. Mm-hmm. And now, that 2 cards to block 5 seems about right. And here's another Haze Shelter. So that's why he didn't play out on offense, because normally what you want to do is you want to play these out. Pitch, play out a Haze Shelter, attack with it for 4, and then, maybe do something else. But if you have 2 Haze Shelters, if you don't necessarily have the resources, you can't pay for the Uphold Tradition to be able to swing both, you can just get that value of using it on defense. So here, once again, these daggers are coming through. This time we have that headpiece ward available. But Jacob does have, he's got one resource floating, he's got 3 cards in hand, and that one in arsenal. So I'd imagine we're going to be seeing a second dagger on the follow-up. So that one bit of armor.
I think he's playing it very safe, isn't he, with these double dagger swings and then seeing what comes out afterwards, rather than just trying to get over the top. He's just trying to manage the ward at the moment until maybe you can draw into those things later that really push over the top. See nimblism in hand, and is that a hiss as well, or is that?
Well, so there's a hiss and a double trouble here. I think Jacob's turn. He's definitely going over the. He's definitely going over the ward. Absolutely. So the double trouble's going to hit 4 plus the buff value of that hiss, which looks to be a red, I believe. Not 100% certain on that, which will give it go again, which he can then play a nimblism into what I believe to be a bonds of memory.
Yeah.
So we're going to be seeing a total of 1 up to 13 damage come out from Jacob this turn, counting that beckoning mistblade that just went through.
Okay.
So this is exactly one of those turns where, this is, if you're Ben, this is probably what you're using your life buffer for, right? You're ahead on 5 life. You have some ward on the table. It's not ideal that it's only ward 1 because you've not pitched the blue, but you can change that if you want to.
All right.
So it was exactly that. And so his counts as 1 attack reaction for Double Trouble's criteria, and we're adding the Slither on top.
Yep.
Which gives it the go again, and also triggers Double Trouble's innate ability when 2 attack reactions have been played on it.
Yeah.
We're buffing it up an extra 2, and we'll be presumably banishing 2 cards off the top of Ben's deck as well.
Which are hopefully blues for Noo's ability later. We will see.
Hopefully. It depends.
Mm.
There are some new decks that, don't necessarily look to do that. And it depends a lot on, what your opponents are running in. If they're being really aggressive, like we saw Ben last game running those really nice blue, mystic splashing attacks, or the water attacks, I should say.
Spillovers and droplets and
Your Tidal Surge we saw come out as well.
We saw that come out of the banish, didn't we?
We did indeed. Yes.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. And we also watched them play out 1 for 6 as well.
Yep.
So we've got the full range of those coming up from Ben's deck. But if you're a new who's not built to banish and play those from your opponent, then it might be a little bit of lost value.
Yeah.
It is that cycle that we were talking about earlier of, do I sideboard out? If I think they're sideboarding out, then I don't want to run these awkward non-block cards that maybe don't get me exactly where I want to be.
True, yeah.
Anyways, so that's been resolved. Pitched a blue for a Waning Vengeance to then buff up that Haze Spectre. And now we are into the second part of this attack. So no damage taken on the first step at the cost of those 2 instant auras. But we do still have to deal with a Bonds of Memory coming in for 6.
Bonds of Memory. That's the one that banishes the top card at the banish card from the graveyard, yeah. Okay.
Correct.
And if it's the same name, they gain life. Cool.
Yes.
Does this gain a life effect ever come into effect, do you think?
I think it depends on your new deck and exactly where you are. I think a lot of times it kind of can work out for you because you do banish off the top first. So, you've got really good options. Well, so here we're seeing this this Bonds of Memory. It's going to be banishing Spillover. It's going to be banishing First Tenant of Wind.
Yeah.
So we don't get that graveyard effect, but we do have 2 nice blues that got banished there. 2 very playable blues.
Yeah.
To add to that. And at that point, you know what? You're probably happy playing Spillover, stealing the Path Well Traveled, give it go again.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, Ben ends up with the Chi, but you know what? It's probably worth it if you get to keep your turn going strongly after that.
He's just taking it straight to the face and followed up with a wounding blow for 4. Absolute classic.
It's a really good 1-card turn.
Yep.
1 card, 6 damage. With the ward still left on the board afterwards. So now
we can see a Transcend in Jacob's hand. Has he got a blue as well?
He might just be pitching it. It's just a little bit too awkward. And again, we're pitching it for that dagger, which when you're trying to poke down those spectral shields can definitely be useful. But when you're down 8 life, and you're really trying to poke down that last one, it can be a little bit awkward. You're going to need to have a really good follow-up. You're going to want to make really good use of that one floating. A good stealth attack into a good react would be good. Art of Desire Body. So here, this is, reasonably likely to gain that life. These decks are running a good amount of reds. Just under half, I would imagine, from Ben, based on what we've seen so far. Maybe a little bit less. And we do have that one resource floating for either a Rousing Wave to sneak it through, or if Jacob's holding a more premium react to try to lower that life.
Oh, okay.
Oh, very interesting.
This is the one that reveals the top 3 cards in the yellow, and then they get to choose one to add to the chain if it's blue. And then if it's blue, the defense becomes 0.
Correct.
So what's pretty good about this card as well, though, is it shows you what the next turn's going to be for Ben. Like the Astral Etchings there, the spillover. He knows what's coming next now.
Absolutely.
So that's
and
pretty
now,
nice.
Yeah. And you also get to choose what card your opponent leaves on top as well.
Yeah.
So you might know what you're banishing here, and I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, he did choose the Astral Etchings.
Get that out of there.
Well, the alternative is we saw another Path Well Traveled. So if you then add a second Path Well Traveled into Ben's banish zone, then
you can play that as well.
You get to play out that spillover,
Yeah.
that droplet, and then a third attack out of there as well. So that could have been a line, but I think when you're on 7 life, taking away the attack reaction from the Illusionist player seems a very
And we've seen
solid
how
play.
valuable that has been in the last game. The Astral Etchings, I think in both Enigma games, really put on work for getting that Spectral Shield, establishing it, and then just continuously swinging with that ridiculous weapon at that point. Like you were saying, it's like a rock with no downside, or an Othos with no downside.
And this is just another solid turn coming from Ben here. This is exactly what your Enigma decks want to be doing: dealing some damage, building a ward, attacking with that ward.
Yeah.
Right. So here we're coming in for 7 damage, and we have a little bit of ward on the back end for it too.
That's what I mean. It can start at both ends, right? You can start with the ward that's already been established with the counter, or you can end with the ward, or you can chuck all of those attacks with the go again if your Transcend Pathwell Travels line up.
Definitely.
So, yeah, pretty good stuff all round.
Interesting. So we saw a Nimble Strike block come out from Jacob there. There was a Nimble Strike in his graveyard, so that would have otherwise been turned on. I'm curious to see what the attack... Oh, okay, there we are.
There we go.
That's why. Why would you block with Nimble Strike when you've got Nimblism in your banish zone? Well, because you've already got the Nimble Strike in Arsenal. There you are.
Cool. Pretty good follow-up. Just raw 5 damage with go again.
It definitely is. And you're floating those 2 resources, so worst case scenario, it's going to be probably a dagger into a stealth attack. Or best case scenario, maybe you get to play something nice and big like a fact-finding mission.
Yeah.
It's a gravekeeping, which is
good.
The next best thing to fact-finding mission. You lose 1 life, but if you're new, it might be even better because you get to banish a card of your choice. You can add to all of this. So, wow, there's so many good cards in there. If New manages to activate her ability, there is
very wide
12 damage and a card draw off that single chi pitched.
Jeez.
Okay, maybe -1 damage because Ben does get that Path Well Traveled turned into a chi back into his hand.
Yeah.
That he could then pitch for Spectral Shield, but very interesting.
Oh, it's swung right round the back now, hasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, and there we are. And that is first Tenet of Chi win. So another way to give one of those attacks go again.
Yeah.
So again, we're looking to really chain 1, 2, 3 attacks out of that banish zone when we can. Although I think we've only got 2 in there for the time being. Then the question becomes, that's a fantastic plan. It's the flashy ending that everybody wants to see.
Absolutely. Let's hope we get there.
But you're on 5 life. Do you have enough runway to get there? You're threatening 5 damage. You can really bring Ben quite low depending on... Oh, there we go. He did choose to take that damage.
Okay.
But now he's got 4 cards. And we've seen Ben's deck do 11...
It's going to start off with a Spectral as well, I think. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Get a 4 ward. Sorry, yeah, it's 1 ward, but 3 counters on it. So it swings for 4 with go again. There
Absolutely. And this is exactly it. We've seen Ben's deck put out 11, 12, 13 damage off of 4 cards before.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're on 5 life, it's hard to keep those cards to transcend.
And this is the issue you get into as well when you have to start blocking with cards from hand against auras. When it gets to this stage, you can't crack back as much, can you? To try and clear them and get through.
So this droplet is just for 2 right now. However, it is also threatening lethal because any blue instant or any blue instant aura, any of the transcend cards can bump this right up to 4 and really threaten Jacob's life total here.
Oh, of course, yeah, because you play a blue card instant, it turns it on instant speed. Yeah,
correct.
Okay,
yeah,
that's pretty sick.
So a lot of sneaky attack reactions coming out of Ben, whether they be through that astral etchings or through these types of plays here.
Oh, I think he does have it as well, doesn't he?
Well,
yeah.
and he knows he has it as well because...
Oh, of course, because he looked at the deck earlier.
Yeah, he saw it off of Intimate Inducement as well.
That's right.
Which I would... Oh.
Oh, okay.
All right, unfortunate.
Damn. Wow.
Well... And we had a second Ten of Wind, and it looked like a playable hand on the follow-up, but sometimes if your opponent has it, your opponent has it, and there's so many things to keep track of, being distracted by that fantastic new combo that you were building up in that graveyard, or in that banish zone, pardon me.
Yeah.
There's too much information in this game. Some of it slips through.
Absolutely.